Stimulants and amphetamines have long been used for the treatment of attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, both in kids and in adults for well over 30 years or so. Actually, those stimulants have been used for much longer than that for all sorts of uh, various mental health issues. Um, and there's been a damning article that just came out in the New York Times Magazine entitled "Have we been thinking about ADHD all wrong?" And I have suspected for a long, long time that yes, we have been thinking about ADHD all wrong. Um, but this article cites numerous top experts on ADHD as well as ADHD treatment. One of the top experts that it has interviewed extensively is Dr. James Swanson, who was at UC Irvine when he started researching ADHD medications such as Adderall and Ritalin. And after more than 30 years of research, he's quoted here as saying, "I don't agree with people who say that stimulant treatment is good," he told me. "It's not good." This is the writer saying. He acknowledges that medication can often produce short-term improvements in children's behavior, but he says, quote, "There is no long-term effect. The only long-term effect that I know of has been the suppression of growth. If you're honest, you should tell kids that, look, if you're interested in next week or next month or even next year, this is the right treatment for you, but in the long run, you're going to be shorter." Uh, how many kids would agree to take medication? Probably none. Basically, he's saying the research has shown that in the long run, these medications do not work in helping uh, children um, achieve better in school or be more productive in anything. But it does make them feel a little bit better in the short term, especially early on, about what they're doing, about doing their schoolwork. So it does have a short-term behavioral effect in the sense that they seem to be less bored. What's interesting is that apparently from the research, they feel like they're paying greater attention. They feel like they're more focused, but they actually don't perform any better than the other kids who feel like they're less focused, feel like they're less in tune with the work. Of course, when you're taking an amphetamine, you're going to be much more alert mentally. It's going to feel like you're much more focused in on whatever work you're doing. But apparently, what happens is it's just a feeling. You're not actually doing any better than the kids who are not taking amphetamines and who are just sort of saying, this is kind of boring. I'm going to go ahead and go through with this. And one of the other findings is that a lot of people in children who are treated, who are treated for ADHD, actually don't seem to have any sort of physiological issue. It's just that they get bored doing certain things, and so their parents or someone has decided, or they themselves have decided, that they must have ADHD, and in order to deal with the boredom of doing things that might be boring, they need this medication. A longer term solution would be finding ways of making yourself interested in doing your homework, finding reasons why you need to do your job, reasoning with yourself, using cognitive behavioral methods. You could go see a therapist and try to figure some of these things out, how to think about these things differently, how to respond to boredom differently, and so forth. What can you say to yourself? What kind of coping mechanisms can you implement in your life when you are feeling bored or you feel like you have to do something that you just don't feel like doing right now? Well, and this is all of this sort of drugification of our youth is all part of the conscious or unconscious sort of desires, motivations, and plans of big psychiatry. Psychiatrists have convinced us that we need a whole bunch of drugs that we don't really need. Unfortunately, the children have become our guinea pigs. They have been sort of corralled into these diagnoses and given drugs that they do not need and that actually are addictive, create dependency, and create their own problems. There's another article that just came out today regarding how the use of SSRI antidepressants is causing genital numbness in our youth, and a great portion of our youth are prescribed SSRI antidepressants. That in and of itself is depressing.